Hello everybody, Ron Wildman in here for former Macon Mayor Jack Ellis on our Middle Georgia Spotlight program. Today a very special guest, longtime friend of Macon, Bibb County and Middle Georgia. Cherry Blossom Festival, Keep Making Bibb Beautiful, Carolyn Crayton.
Hello Ron, good to be here with you.
Glad to have you here. We have the 38th, I do believe, festival coming up in March, don't we?
We do. It's hard to believe, isn't it? 38 years ago, Cherry Blossom began.
What sparked a Cherry Blossom Festival? How did that come about?
Well, I, of course, had gotten to know the Ficklin family and fell in love with those blossoms on those beautiful Yoshina cherry trees. And we had started Keep Making Bibb Beautiful in '74. And we had a wonderful group of dedicated commission members that were volunteering and making a lot of beautiful things happen. And what could be better than having a celebration to thank Mr. Ficklin for those cherry trees and to create a party to celebrate his birthday. You know, his birthday was March the 23rd.
That's right.
And that's when the cherry trees bloomed every year. 23rd, we could find blooms. And I wanted to thank him for giving us those cherry trees and to celebrate his birthday, and that's what we did. And we had 23 events for a weekend, and that was the beginning of Cherry Blossom Festival.
I remember some of the outdoor activities, however, in Cherry Blossom #1. It wasn't the best of weather, was it?
We had snow. It was unbelievable. It was just so much fun, and we had television coverage. People had come down from Atlanta to cover the story, and it was amazing that we were having snowflakes. It was so funny. Willard Scott just couldn't get over. He said we're going to have to call it the Cherry Bud Festival.
Yes, he did. I remember that quite well as he saw his breath come out that morning on TV. Where did this Carolyn Crayton begin? You're not a Macon native. You came over here when?
My husband decided he was invited on 3 different occasions to accept a position in Macon. And we were both from North Carolina, and we didn't know a lot about Macon, Georgia. But after 3 times of turning down a job offer to come to Macon that kept coming back for him, he decided that we need to take a ride down to Macon and take the children and let's see about Macon. We did, and can you believe it was March that he brought us to Macon to take a look around. And we didn't know anyone. And well, I knew one lady in Macon because I was serving on a Sears 13 state board with her. And that's all I knew about Macon. And so as we were taking a ride around town, looking at the town and deciding if he thought, you know, we ought to make the change and come to Macon, he accidentally drove down Ingleside Avenue. We did not know about the cherry trees or the Ficklin family, and we came upon Mr. Ficklin's home, and the trees were in bloom. So, oh my, I fell in love with those trees immediately, and then it was the interstate was being built. On our way traveling here by car, we would leave portions that had been completed and go over to 41, and then we'd have to come back and forth to get here. And so all the way thinking about the interstate, I had planted trees, rose bushes, the red blaze rose bushes on I-40 in Greensboro. That was one of my little projects there. And so my husband kept saying, well, Carolyn, maybe you could do some beautification. They're building the interstate. Maybe you could plant rose bushes on the interstate here, like you did on I-40. So, you know, from that, and then accidentally going down Ingleside Avenue and seeing those trees, and they were blooming.
But at that time, you did not have a job here.
No, I had not even moved here. We didn't even have, he had not accepted the job to come here. So after that trip, we loved what we saw. We loved Macon. And so then we came back and found the property, the lot that we thought we would like to live, where we would like to live. And so Lee accepted the position, and we found a wonderful builder to build our home, and we love it, and we're still there. We're in West End Woods.
How did Keep Macon Bibb Beautiful materialize?
In an unusual way. I had been so involved, as you know, with the Sears Community Improvement Program that covered 13 states, and I had also started a program because I had been involved with Keep America Beautiful for a long time in North Carolina. And so when I started the Greensboro Beautiful program, I really got much more involved with Keep America Beautiful. So I knew them well, and then when I got here, I knew that I needed to have Keep America Beautiful because I was so accustomed to working to beautify Greensboro, to beautify wherever I lived. And I wanted Keep America Beautiful close to me, and so I invited them to come down to meet Macon. And they were getting ready to start a real program, a workable program, and they were going to choose 3 test sites. And I invited them to come to Macon. It was in January, and it was a Wednesday afternoon. It was cold, it was rainy, and I had invited a lot of people to come to meet the president of Keep America Beautiful. And we had over 200 people. We had filled the big room upstairs at what used to be the C&S Bank on Cherry Street, Cherry and 3rd. We filled that big community room upstairs, and the president of Keep America Beautiful was so impressed that on a cold January Wednesday afternoon in the rain, that many people came out to hear about Keep America Beautiful. He chose us right there on the spot.
Now you were
to be a test site.
Macon and 2 other cities were the first
Tampa
ones.
and Tampa, Florida, and Charlotte, North Carolina.
That's big time company for Macon.
It is, and the 3 of us came together and met in Macon. And Keep America Beautiful loaned us a behavioral scientist from the New Jersey area, well-known company, and he worked with us here in Macon for 18 months, helping us to learn how to change attitudes. And we just had meetings and lots of community gatherings with the various organizations, all the women's community organizations, all the men's service and clubs like Lions Clubs, Kiwanis Club, and Rotary, that kind of thing. And then with all of our enforcement, our sheriff's department, our police department, and then the media, the newspaper reporters and writers, and television and radio. We had workshops for all of those different groups. I can remember one July, we held 19 big community workshops, asking all of these people to be a part of Keep Macon Bibb Beautiful and to help us change attitudes and to help us have the most beautiful, warm, friendly, loving city in Georgia.
Where did your interest in beautification begin? You're from the Carolinas. What town in Carolina?
I was literally born very close. I was not Charlotte city limits, but I joined Charlotte. We were born Charlotte was our town, and we at our home my dad always, I think he had a dream maybe growing up he might like to live on a farm or be a farmer, but he always had a garden, not only of the small vegetables that you could grow in a home garden, but also had beautiful flowers and beautiful fruit trees, delicious fruit trees. And everything that we that he grew, he, as a little girl growing up in that wonderful environment with lots and lots of love of growing things and sharing them. And every day as things were ready to come out of the garden or flowers to be picked, I was the one that I got to share them. I was the one who could run and take them and share with our neighbors.
Was your mom a part of that too?
Oh, my mother and daddy absolutely loved, well, she was the person mainly about the flowers, but Dad could grow them, and we all were into it. We all helped with the planting and with the receiving of the beauty of all of it.
What was his profession?
My dad was in the textile business, and Lee's father was in the textile business, and therefore Lee became a textile engineer when he came back from, he graduated and went straight into the military, and when he came back he had to then go do college, and so he chose the textile industry, so he was a textile engineer.
So they all got along pretty well then?
Yes, they all understood the same language.
Your school years, what were they like?
Wonderful. As you know, I love people and love being with people and love doing things together with groups, and I love seeing good things happen. And so of course, in school, I participated in everything. I played clarinet in the marching band. I was a cheerleader. I sang in the choral group, and I was always involved.
You were somewhat of an athlete too, weren't you?
Well, I lettered. I played basketball. Yeah, I was a forward and had a big collision at one game with a guard, and I got hurt my back. So had to have some major surgery, but I had a great doctor, and it really has held up well.
Well, after your high school years, what did you do?
Well, then I had to go to school, and I really enjoyed beautiful things, and so I was involved in decorating.
And when did you meet Lee, your husband?
Met him in church after he came back from the Air Force. He was in the Air Force 4 years, I think, and 8 months, and I met him. He came home. His parents went to the same church that my family went to, and he came on a Sunday when he was home on leave, and I did not know him. I knew his parents. My parents and his parents were friends, but I did not know him. He was an only child and older than me, and so I did get to meet him, though, and it was wonderful to meet him, and then we were married.
How long was it before you got married, after you met him?
Oh,
A day or two, or was it longer?
Oh, no, it was about 3 years.
3 years.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And the beautification began when over there?
In Greensboro?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm not, I forget dates because
Well,
it's been a long time.
The job, what was the job?
The job was keep Greensboro beautiful.
Okay.
That was the title that we gave it. And it was very successful and continues to be successful. And one of the ways that we started it, though, was the high school had a junior-senior party at one of the big hotels in Greensboro. And our son was in high school at that time, and we had a visiting guest in our home because our son was head of the Young Rotary program at school for Rotary. And this young guy was coming to be a student at our school, a visiting student, and because our son was president of the Junior Rotary, we were asked to host this young guy in our home. And he was from Australia. And we did for the school year, and that was very interesting. But that year, the senior class, they really did some destruction at the hotel at their party. And so the next morning, the principal of the school called me and said, Carolyn, you're the president of this PTA, and I need you. We really we've got to turn the energy of our students into beautification, doing something good for the community, doing something worthwhile, rather than tearing up hotel ballrooms. So that's when I started the beautification program with the schools. And I believe at that time we had maybe like 6 high schools. And I thought, you know, what am I going to do? The principal is really counting on me as the president of the PTA of this big high school to do something to involve our young people. And I thought about it, and I said, let's have a contest. So I contacted all of the principals of all the high schools and asked if they would be willing to let's have a contest to see who could make the most beautiful campus. And we would give a handsome award. I went out and got sponsors to donate enough money to give a really good award to the winner. And that's how it started. And the students, we got the football teams, we got the basketball teams, we got cheerleaders, we got groups out of school, not during the days of classes, but the evenings and Saturdays and Sundays to work on their grounds to win the contest. It was incredible. The students who could drive and the parents who children couldn't drive yet, they were bringing their cars to the campus and putting the lights on at night. They were working on the campus at night, beautifying it, planting and cleaning up and making it beautiful. This went on for, we had a certain amount of time that we were allowing to get this project done. It was so successful, it was incredible, the participation and the excitement of the winners. And it was so successful, we couldn't just give one big prize, we had to do 3. It was so successful. And that really started Keep Greensboro Beautiful.
Well, eventually you left Greensboro.
Oh, Greensboro. And Greensboro is such a beautiful town, and it needed a beautification program. And we did that. We planted red roses on Interstate I-40. We planted trees on I-16, and or not I-16, but Highway 16, and coming into the city. And we went into not just the high schools, but we went into the colleges, we went into all the schools then.
What prompted you to leave Greensboro, and where do you go from Greensboro?
Well, my husband, his work.
Lee, moving on.
He was always being contacted. He had lots and lots of job offers. So we had one tour from Greensboro to a little town in North Carolina that adjoined Charlotte, close by. It was called Stanley, North Carolina, and very, very close to Charlotte. I think it was Highway 27 that Stanley was located on, a small, small town. And while there, I got involved. Again, I was president of PTA, and my children were really little in first and second grade, and the school ground needed improvements, and we didn't really have a place to meet, you know, for like organizing garden clubs and civic organizations and that kind of thing. So got busy and raised money and got a lot of support, and we built a community center that we could have, everybody could have meetings in. And then, of course, we had to beautify that. And just everywhere we've ever lived, we really loved improving and bringing beauty into it.
Oh, that's wonderful. Now, after Stanley, where did Lee take you then?
Well, let's see. From Stanley, we went to the top of the mountain in Chattanooga.
Top of the mountain?
Top of the mountain in Chattanooga, and it was a wonderful experience. Chattanooga is a great town, very versatile. The mountain village, there are several mountains, and we happen to have chosen Signal Mountain, and we found a piece of property on top of Signal Mountain that overlooked Chattanooga, and we were able to convince the people to let us buy that piece of property. And we built our house, built a 2-story house built out of stone, had the stone dug out of the Cumberland Mountain, and watched it being built. We rented a house on the same street while they were building it, and we only got to live in it 2 years before we were called to come here.
You came to Macon from Chattanooga. Well, I've been in some of those hills in Chattanooga. You could see Charlotte from there, I think. You might have been able to see Macon from there.
We could see from our bedroom, we could see several states. It was beautiful. And we overlooked, we could just, from our porch, we could just look down on Chattanooga and all the areas around Chattanooga. It was just beautiful. And I've had the great pleasure of meeting Ruth Golden, a wonderful lady who I think people remembered her with the newspaper Times and television. She was a wonderful lady, and I was fortunate enough to be really become a very good close friend to her. She taught me a lot and gave me a lot of opportunities. She's a very, very smart lady, a very caring person, and it was wonderful to get to know somebody like Ruth Golden.
Well, while in Chattanooga, were you able to do some of your beautification work?
Oh yes, I was immediately invited to be a part of Scenic Cities Beautiful, which was the beautification program for Chattanooga. It was Scenic Cities Beautiful. And Chattanooga really is a scenic city.
Yes,
it's just beautiful. And I got to know so many people. It was wonderful. I just was invited and became a part of so much of Chattanooga.
Well,
and only had 2 years. It was hard to leave.
Especially that house you all built. That had to be hard to leave.
Well, it really was. It was 2 years old, and it sold instantly. And by the president of one of the largest corporations there, bought our house immediately. Hardly had time to even get packed to move to Macon. They were so ready to have our house. It was beautiful.
So with Lee and the 2 children, you packed up and came to Macon then. Tell me about your youngsters. Well,
they really, our son really grew up in North Carolina, basically. And Annette, our youngest, of course, came along with us, but Doug needed to finish in North Carolina his high school.
Yes.
So he stayed back and finished high school. He lived with a dear, dear friend of ours, and to finish. Of course, we were traveling back and forth every weekend. He was either coming home or we were going there.
Well,
so,
you were in Chattanooga.
Right. Yeah. Anyway, they love Macon and come home to visit and love. And Macon is, Annette graduated from Stratford, and also she graduated from Mercer. And Doug, of course, was older and ready, thinking after we got here, thinking about college. So then he stayed in North Carolina to do college. He graduated from North Carolina State University.
What are their professions?
Doug is an engineer, and Annette graduated and married a graduate of Mercer, and they went to Augusta to medical school. He graduated from medical school, and then after that, they moved to Marietta, and Annette entered Emory Law School. So our son and family are North Carolinians, and our daughter and family are Atlantans.
You get to visit much?
Yes, yes, and they come home to visit us here in Macon, and I go visit both of them, yeah.
And the holidays are special.
Oh, yeah, they are, yeah.
Grandchildren, tell me about them.
Yes, we have a grandson and two, well, each child had a daughter and a son. Lee and I had a daughter and a son, and each of them have a daughter and a son. So I have 4 grandchildren, and they are wonderful, absolutely wonderful.
So we got you in Macon now. How did you get started here just from the ground floor? You said you went out to Ingleside, saw the beauty out there, and the job, how did it come to you, the first job you had here?
Well, it really, after we got both these programs started, we really, I can remember Bert Struby.
Yes.
He was newspaper and became a wonderful friend. And of course, you know, when I was trying to get these programs started, I needed the support of everybody in Macon because I was new to Macon, and I needed to learn everything about Macon. And he was one of the people that really helped me. He really became a friend, and then there were so many people at the newspaper and the television and radio stations that helped me. I can remember the Lowe family and radio people that Al Lowe really helped me. It was this, and WMAZ, I can just still see the wonderful leadership at WMAZ. They were the first.
Yeah. It all led to what we have today. Number 38, Cherry Blossom Festival coming up, keeping Macon Bibb Beautiful well established.
Since 1974, and the festival in 82, the first one, yeah.
Are you happy with what you've seen in the past 38 years here in Macon?
It is absolutely wonderful. And not only to see the wonderful, wonderful things that have been done and created and established, is to get to know the wonderfulness of the people. I love the people, the friendships, the love that abounds in this town.
I came in the mid-'60s, and I feel the same way. We've had an enjoyable life here,
Oh, I love
as you
it.
have, and we're run out of time is what we've done, Carolyn.
Well, you
But
know,
we've
Ron,
covered a good bit of your life.
well, you really have. And we've certainly been good friends for all these years. You came shortly before we did. We came in July of 1970 and met you, and we have been friends ever since.
Enjoyed every minute of it. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.
And thank you, folks, for being with us on Middle Georgia Spotlight. I'm Ron Wildman for former Macon Mayor Jack Ellis. Thank you. WMUB.